La cour, the court.
Veuillez vous asseoir. Please be seated. Good morning and welcome everyone to this special ceremony to mark the opening of the Supreme Court's judicial year. It is the first opening in almost 40 years, I might add. My colleagues and I are delighted you are joining us. Habituellement, les événements dans cette salle d'audience rassemblent.
Ordinarily, gatherings in this courtroom bring stressed lawyers, probing judges, and inquisitive media. Today brings no tough questions, no heavy briefs, and especially no rulings to render. I hope that doesn't disappoint too many of you. Rather, today will be eventful for other reasons. Not least because we are honored to see several former justices back with us.
McLaughlin, the Honorable Michael Moldaver, the Honorable Maurice Fish, l'Honorable Louis Charon,
the Honorable Louise Charon,
and the Honorable Frank Iacobucci. Comme nous avons étonnamment peu d'occasions de...
We have surprisingly few opportunities to reconnect. So this is a cherished moment indeed.
Profession are also well represented today, thanks to several distinguished guest speakers. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Honorable Sean Fraser, Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Canada, Dean Kristen Boone, representing the Council of Canadian Law Deans, Ms. Bianca Kratt, President of the Canadian Bar Association, Ms. Teresa Donnelly from the Federation of Law Societies of Canada, and Ms. Hilary Book, President of the Advocate Society. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the Speaker of the House of Commons, the Honorable Francis Scarpaleggia. At today's ceremony, the Canadian judiciary is also well represented by Chief Justices and Associate Chief Justices from federal, provincial, and territorial courts from across the country. We are grateful you could travel to Ottawa and help us commemorate the opening of our judicial year. I see many other familiar faces and new ones as well. Welcome current and former registrars of the court, executive legal officers, and current law clerks. To the law professors, students, and journalists here today, we're also glad you could join us for this very special occasion. Our ceremony is being webcast live, like all our court proceedings. Welcome to those participating online. This is your court, and this is an opportunity to better understand our work. It has been almost 40 years since the Supreme Court held a ceremony to mark the opening of a judicial year. By show of hands, was anyone here for the last one? I didn't think so. It certainly is long overdue. J'ai participé à plusieurs de ces cérémonies.
I've participated in several of these ceremonies elsewhere, and I'm always struck by the collegiality and solidarity. These ceremonies offer us the opportunity to reaffirm our commitment to shared legal principles that form the bedrock of democracy, such as access to justice, judicial independence, and open courts. This year marks the 150th anniversary of the Supreme Court of Canada. As the nation's final court of appeal, it interprets the Constitution safeguards people's fundamental rights and freedoms, and upholds the rule of law. This is the message we brought to Canadians during visits to cities across the country throughout the year. Each time we meet with local communities, I am more optimistic for the future of our institutions. For example, high school and university students are curious and they care. They are attuned to what's going on around them and are passionate about protecting the values we all hold dear. In fact, you may have noticed that our audience skews a bit younger today. I will include myself in that description, and that is because we are joined by law students from Ottawa and Gatineau. It was important to us that the next generation be represented here today.
For today, I read the remarks of Chief Justice Brian Dixon, which he delivered at the last opening ceremony 39 years ago. To my surprise, he spoke about two topics that I intended to address myself. By the start of the 1986-1987 judicial year, members of the Supreme Court had delivered 20 decisions on appeals under Canada's new Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Chief Justice Dixon observed that they had included some of the most difficult issues of the time. Things were changing fast, and he sought to reassure the public, and I quote, "The Supreme Court of Canada is still essentially a general court of appeal for the country, and that remains the cornerstone of the life and work of this court today. We are not simply a court specializing in constitutional law, and we will not become one." End quote. 4 decades later, charter cases continue to present the court with some of the country's most challenging legal questions. In the 2025-2026 court year, the Supreme Court will hear many charter appeals. Some of these are criminal cases with issues including the right to be tried within a reasonable time, the protection against self-incrimination, and the right to be free from arbitrary searches. The court will also hear cases on patent law, Aboriginal title, labor relations, and official languages. As the days turn colder, I know many of you are looking for cases to heat things up. All I can say is stay tuned. The second theme Chief Justice Dixon spoke about was the court's brand new video conferencing. Speaking to members of the bar, he said, and I quote, "The judges of the Supreme Court of Canada are totally satisfied with this system. The saving of time, of money, and greater accessibility should commend itself to all counsel who are concerned with the financial implications of representing their clients' interests." End quote. Et pourtant, la vidéoconférence.
Yet, video conferencing largely fell out of use until 2020, when everyone was scrambling to leverage this technology. Like other courts, the Supreme Court used this technology to ensure its work could continue.
In 2025 is a modern institution devoted to continuous improvement. We engage with the legal community, journalists, and the public to learn how we may adapt to serve Canadians better. In recent years, the court amended its rules to make it easier for people to apply for leave to appeal. We launched a secure electronic filing portal, and parties have already filed over 38,000 documents with this new technology. We have also eliminated filing fees. For 150 years, the Supreme Court has honored its unique bilingual, and bijural heritage, along with its many traditions. Yet, there is one tradition that we have decided to modernize. Many of you will have noticed that my colleagues and I are not wearing our usual red robes. Instead, we are wearing new robes, which preserve the dignity and authority of the judicial role. They have a modern and simple design that echoes our commitment to openness and accessibility in a way that is distinctly Canadian. Dans le même ordre d'idée, le nouveau...
And on a related note, new symbols are also being built into the West Memorial building, where we will move at the end of the court year. This building, where we are gathered today, will be undergoing at least 10 years of extensive and overdue rehabilitation. This year will be our last in this courtroom for quite some time. While we will miss this building, the courtroom at the West Memorial Building will retain several historical and traditional elements, such as the red carpeting and the judge's bench. But its design will also include new symbolic elements. For example, the courtroom and grand entrance hall will feature skylights to flood the building with natural light, which characterizes the openness and transparency of our court. As we start to get ready for this move, it became clear that we have much in the way of history, artifacts, and stories that need to be preserved for future generations.
To announce that a historical society of the Supreme Court of Canada is being established. A tribute to the court's profound influence on contemporary society, it will help honor and preserve its rich history and enduring legacy. The society will foster research, promote education, and engage the public through outreach. I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the Honorable Thomas Cromwell, former Justice of this Court, and Madame Anne Rolland, former Registrar, for agreeing to co-chair this society. Madame Rolland, je suis ravi que vous soyez.
Madame Rolland, it is wonderful that you could be here today, and I look forward to seeing what the Historical Society is able to accomplish under your leadership with Justice Cromwell. And to the many former law clerks who have expressed an interest in being a part of this new, exciting initiative, you can expect a phone call very soon.
About upholding the democratic values of our great country. While we are not a superpower in the traditional sense of the word, we are certainly a democratic superpower. For us, the rule of law is non-negotiable. Everyone in this room and across Canada's diverse legal community is committed to public service. We are also united in our deep conviction that the rule of law and judicial independence are not abstract concepts. They are the best defense against tyranny and autocracy. But for most Canadians, judicial independence is theoretical. Bringing it to life requires efficient and effective access to justice, delivered fairly and impartially by well-trained judges. We are fortunate in Canada to have a remarkable judiciary. Our 150th anniversary has been an occasion for reflection. Whether it is during the visits across Canada or the International Legal Symposium held in this very room, it is clear to me that people have been thinking about the strength of our institutions throughout history. Just outside these doors is a great example. In April, the Senate and Library and Archives Canada installed a joint exhibit on the court's history. The exhibit includes original documents that take us back to 1875, when the court was first created. When the exhibit was being researched and assembled, we did not know just how much these historic documents would mean to people in these troubling times. But I have come to appreciate that they represent unity in the face of discord and pride in our distinctly Canadian institutions. As we open this new judicial year, let us once more affirm the principle that have guided this court since 1875. The rule of law, judicial independence, and equal access to justice. For 150 years, these principles have shaped our jurisprudence, strengthened our institutions, and earned the confidence of Canadians. They are the foundation of our democracy and the highest measure of our integrity. Time has carved this legacy in stone, and now we stand ready to build what comes next. May these principles always guide the court in its service to justice and to our great nation. And may each of us always uphold them firmly, faithfully, and fearlessly. Thank you so much for your attention. J'ai maintenant le grand plaisir de...
Now it is my great pleasure to introduce our distinguished guest speakers, who, together with their colleagues and organizations, advance these shared values.
To begin, I am pleased to welcome the Justice Minister and Attorney General, the Honorable Sean Fraser. Minister, the floor is yours.
Merci, le juge en chef, esteemed justices of the Supreme Court of Canada, distinguished guests. You began posing the question as to who amongst us was here for the opening of the court nearly 4 decades ago. I regret to inform you I was learning to walk at the time, but I'm nevertheless grateful to be here today. I can't help but feel how small my presence is, by way of contrast to the enormity of the institution that we're here to celebrate. Aujourd'hui, nous célébrons un anniversaire qui...
Today we celebrate a very important anniversary in the history of these institutions. It's also very important in the history of our country.
Come and go over the course of our history, but the court has remained here for virtually the entirety of the story of Canada. You have witnessed the admission of the first woman to practice medicine in this country in 1880. You have been here for the driving of the last spike, completing the railway from coast to coast. You have seen many moments of national glory, the great wars of the previous century, the 1972 Summit Series, national heroes like Terry Fox working towards his Marathon of Hope, and more recently, challenges, even a global pandemic. But what to me is far more important than the history the court has borne witness to is the history that it has helped shape over time. I think back to my first year as a law student, the reverence with which my classmates and I shared for this very institution. Though we knew the cases by name, I have come to appreciate, in my role as a Member of Parliament, the importance of the values that underpin those cases. When we heard the name Roncarelli, we didn't necessarily appreciate it at the time, but the notion of the rule of law is underpinning the very fabric of our nation's society. I think to myself of the principles of democracy that can be found through many decisions of the court, ensuring that everyone in this country has a stake in electing their decision makers. I think to myself about the framework with which we operate, understanding the roles of provinces and territories and the federal government working alongside one another. And I think importantly about the abundance of cases, recognizing and affirming the inherent and treaty rights of Indigenous peoples who form a key part of this country, and recognizing that all citizens are equal before the law, regardless of the color of our skin, the God that we pray to, or the person that we love. Though it's important to reflect on our history, I think we should spend as much time thinking about the future of the court. Quand je regarde l'avenir de notre pays, j'ai...
When I look at the future of my country, I am concerned, and that's because our democracy is not certain. If we want to have democracy for the generations to come, it is crucial today to work harder to defend our country, to defend the independence of our institutions, of this institution, and to defend the law in general.
Around the world, some of the norms which we have held most sacred for many, many decades being slowly eroded. On the global stage, we see trading relationships fraying that we have taken for granted too often. We see members of the United Nations Security Council in open defiance of some of the norms that we have accepted as paramount: territorial integrity, sovereignty of nations, self-determination of peoples. We see easily the temptation of political actors around the world and at home to give in to calls, to give away the rights of another person, to weaken our institutions in a moment of political expediency. Well, it is very, very easy to give away the rights of others. But it is when it is most difficult that it becomes most important that we stand ardent in defense of the need for the law to protect those who do not have a voice to protect themselves. Where we see democratic decline, the antidote will not necessarily be found on the other place atop Parliament Hill, but instead in the laws that are guided by the values that we hold most dear. If we expect someone else to do this work for us, we would be making an enormous mistake. It is for all of us, elected officials, justices of the Supreme Court, ordinary Canadians, to stand up and take ownership of our democracy. I fear that we will succumb one day to the erosion of our rights bit by bit until they are gone, until we reach a moment where there is no one left to defend our rights. It is so essential that we respect the ability of the court to do its jobs with whatever challenges we may face of a political nature. Now, I hold the view that it's completely acceptable for the court to recognize that as times change, the beliefs of Canadians change, and so too ideas the court may consider can change. But as we see these shifting circumstances, it is important to recognize that the values that underpin our Constitution, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the values that underpin the very notion of the rule of law, remains at the central focus of our debates, not only in Parliament, but the arguments that you hear in this court. J'apprécie l'opportunité pour être ici pour célébrer l'institution.
For the opportunity to be here to celebrate.
We commit ourselves to defending the institution for the long term. By doing the hard work of ensuring the Supreme Court is here 150 years from now, we will at the same time be ensuring Canada remains the true north, strong and free 150 years later. Merci, c'est un grand plaisir.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le ministre, pour ces propos très porteurs. Thank you very much.
Mr. Minister.
Our next speaker is Dean Kristen Boone, President of the Council of Canadian Law Deans. Ms. Boone.
Monsieur le juge en chef, Mesdames et Messieurs, les juges de la Cour suprême du Canada.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the court, Mr. Minister of Justice, dignitaries, colleagues. It's a pleasure for me to speak today on behalf of the Deans of Law Schools in Canada. This independent association groups together deans of the 25 law schools in the country. We are exercising a consultation role with regards to questions of common interest, which is teaching law in Canada, legal research, cooperation between law schools, relationship with the teaching profession and other institutions. I would like to thank the members of the Supreme Court for their essential work.
for Justice Ian Binney in 2002 to 2003. And I spent many hours in this courtroom, sitting at that bench just over there, watching some of our country's most eloquent advocates pleading their cases before you. It was the experience of a lifetime to see how justices of this court then moved the cases forward, rendering decisions on complex areas of law with humility and a sense of humor. En ma qualité de doyenne de la faculté de droit de l'Université d'Ottawa,
As Dean of the Law Faculty at University of Ottawa, I'm pleased to be accompanied today with five students. The editor of the Ottawa Law Review, a PhD student, someone responsible for Indigenous law students, a Ukrainian student doing a master's, and a student in the common law program in French, Clara Laplante-Bédard, Shibu Chibuchani, Laura Asson, Stanislav Yakov,
Fatima Ali Youssef.
Fatima Youssef. These people are representing the diversity of talent of our students and also the future of the legal profession in Canada.
Our faculties have a special relationship with this court. Most, if not all, lawyers and judges in this room will have attended one of our faculties of law. I expect that you will all have special memories of your time in law school, whether that was a student event, a clinic that you loved, or a wonderful event with friends. I used to study in my law school's library. And a memory for me was leaving the library as it closed around 10 p.m. many evenings, when I would hear a bagpipe player practicing in the law school's auditorium. To this day, when I hear bagpipes, I think of studying for torts and my torts final exam. And I say that not out of a sense of distress, but actually of great enthusiasm as I got married in Scotland to a Scot with bagpipes. On behalf of the Canadian Council of Law Deans, I wish to tell you what a special moment it is when you come to our faculties and visit our law students. I would like to encourage you to continue to do so. Our students remember those visits in great detail. As justices, you will hire some of our brightest students as law clerks, and the moment of connection really begins with your visit. Thank you for making the time for this and for the experiences that you all share with our students. Au sein du Conseil, les membres du corps professoral.
We are inspired every day by the decisions that you make. We are always very proud to see our articles consulted during your deliberations. I can ensure that information circulates at the speed of light when a colleague is cited in the decision of the Supreme Court, because this is a culmination of one's career. During this year, marking the 150th anniversary of the court and prepares to depart this regal building, you are looking towards the past and the future. Law schools are looking towards the future. The University of Ottawa, like you, works in both official languages and in common and civil law. As U Ottawa Dean, I am proud of the contributions of our faculty in the decision to translate historically significant judgments rendered before 1970. In addition, a team at U Ottawa has developed an exciting new project entitled Supreme Court Experience that will create a multimedia experience.
Two are looking towards the future. One of the benefits of the CCLD is that we are constantly learning from each other and from the dynamic nature of legal education in Canada. I polled our Canadian law deans on what they wanted me to tell you today, and here are some things they asked me to share. First, the most important curricular change in law schools today is diversified teaching methods. Many professors now teach beyond traditional case method to include problem-based learning, alternative dispute resolution, and experiential learning. In addition, 80% of the deans who responded indicated that their law schools now have a compulsory first-year course in Indigenous law, or droit des premiers peuples. We all have concerted programming around equity, diversity, and inclusion in the legal profession, for example, faculty-led workshops and discussions. And at the forefront of our thinking today is how artificial intelligence is reshaping the practice of law, and inevitably, legal education itself. Law deans across the country are committed to equipping students with digital literacy and ethical frameworks required for a profession in rapid legal transformation. Looking ahead, Canada's law schools remain dedicated to delivering an legal education that is dynamic, inclusive, and world-class. We prepare graduates to embrace innovation and champion access to justice and engage with the pressing legal challenges of our time. On behalf of Canada's 25th law schools, congratulations to the court on its 150th anniversary. Thank you for your outreach and for your efforts to visit communities across the country. Miigwech, et bonne chance avec the move across the street. Merci beaucoup.
And good luck with your move across the street. Thank you.
Merci, Madame la Doyenne Boone. Thank you very much.
Dean Boone. Now, I would ask the President of the Canadian Bar Association, Bianca Kratt, to speak.
Oui, bonjour tout le monde.
Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Chief Justice, Honorable Justices, distinguished guests, it's a great honor for me to be here today and to participate in this judicial opening. As the Supreme Court celebrates its 150th anniversary, this means 150 years of continuity and tradition, but also 150 years of evolution. For example, 150 years ago, I'm not so sure that my Huron-Wendat ancestors could have imagined that one day I would be speaking here on behalf of the Canadian Bar Association before a Supreme Court that includes an Abenaki judge. And I doubt that anyone could have predicted that we would both be women. These changes bring hope. But the stability and sustainability of our institutions are also essential.
Symbol and living proof of the stability a country can enjoy when its legal institutions remain respected, independent, and rooted in the rule of law. A glance at history and at the world around us is enough to see how truly rare this is, and it's not something we can take for granted. Je sais que la plupart d'entre nous qui assistons à une cérémonie
I know that most of us attending an opening day ceremony do not take the rule of law for granted, but let's be honest, sometimes even we take it for granted. Most of us grew up in a country where we can say what we think, go where we want, and associate with whomever we choose. But do we really believe that that could change one day? Can we really imagine a future we would have to walk the streets of Ottawa or Calgary with our identification papers in hand, ready to show them to an officer on demand? Or a future where we would need the approval of the ruling party to obtain a fishing license or receive an artist grant? Or a future where the outcome of a case depends less on its merits than on a judge's fear of reprisals? Of course, equality before the law has never been perfect in Canada. My Wendat ancestors would know a thing or two about that, and challenges remain, but overall, Canadians enjoy a legal system they can trust.
duty as people who work in the law and who care about the rule of law to remind Canadians to cherish it and to take its fragility seriously. We need to show our friends, our neighbors, and ourselves not only the benefits of the rule of law, but also the risks of losing it. The Supreme Court doesn't last for 150 years and counting as a credible, independent authority without the support of a strong and resilient legal community. La Cour suprême joue un rôle essentiel dans la...
The Supreme Court plays a vital role in protecting the rule of law in Canada. However, it cannot do so alone. It is up to all of us to contribute. Every time a solicitor gives independent legal advice to their client, every time a public servant applies a rule fairly and transparently, every time a judge renders a decision based solely on the law and his or her judgment, each and every time a politician resists the urge to take political advantage of an unpopular decision, and every time a citizen asserts their constitutional rights, every time one of these situations occurs, the rule of law in Canada is strengthened. And this is how this court will be able to celebrate another 150 years of history while continuing to evolve. Thank you.
Bravo.
Merci. Tu es le prochain? Donnelly.
Thank you, Ms. Kratt. Now, Ms. Teresa Donnelly, President of the Federation of Law Society of Canada. The floor is yours.
It's a profound honor to join in this historic occasion marking the 150th anniversary of the Supreme Court of Canada. As the Chief noted, this court doesn't traditionally gather for such ceremonies, and that makes today both exceptional and remarkable. It offers us the rare chance to pause, to honor this court's extraordinary legacy, and to reflect on and reaffirm its enduring role as a vital guardian of the rule of law in our democracy. For a century and a half, this court has shaped the very fabric of Canadian society. Its judgments breathe life into the rights and freedoms we hold dear, while ensuring our laws continue to evolve alongside the values and aspirations of Canadians. This court's strength rests on its independence, an independence that guarantees the fair and impartial administration of justice and sustains the public trust in our legal system. Au nom de la Fédération des Ordres.
On behalf of the Federation of Law Societies of Canada, I'm honored to extend my greetings to you today.
Voice of the 14 law societies of Canada that regulate in the public interest. Today I am joined by 9 presidents and 1 vice president from law societies across the country. They're both honored and excited to be here, and dare I say, a little starstruck, just like me. Our role collectively is to ensure that Canadians are served by lawyers, Quebec notaries, and Ontario paralegals who are competent, ethical, and committed to justice. In this shared mission, we see this court's influence every day, its decisions guiding the legal professions and resonating in the lives of Canadians. This anniversary is not only a moment to look back, it's a call to look forward. Our justice system faces profound challenges: the rapid transformation of technology, the continued need for equity and inclusion, and the ongoing and vital work of reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. Access to justice for ordinary Canadians continues to be a challenge that cries out for solutions. Within the profession itself, we are confronting a wellness and mental health crisis, a reminder to all of us who serve the cause of justice that they must themselves be supported, be lauded for reaching out when they need help, and be treated with compassion. Meeting these challenges will require vision, collaboration, and a continued commitment to the very values this court embodies. Many of these challenges are not new, but in this moment, things feel different. At no time in our history have we felt more concerned about the bedrock principles that underlie our democracy. The rule of law is under threat. The independence of the legal professions and the independence of the judiciary are being challenged, and these developments only serve to erode public confidence in the justice system. Let's all of us collectively and unequivocally reaffirm our commitment to the rule of law. Let us remind every Canadian that, as the Chief Justice said, it is not an abstract principle, but a shared foundation that belongs to each of us. It's ours to uphold, it's ours to protect. Je félicite le juge en chef.
I commend the Chief Justice for his ongoing efforts to help Canadians to understand the importance of this message.
Vital aspect of the court's work, and it's the efforts to open doors and invite Canadians in. Though initiatives like the Supreme Court Experience Project, through that project, the court is sharing its history and its role in our democracy with Canadians, especially young people. This work deepens our understanding, fosters civic engagement, and inspires confidence in the rule of law for future generations. The Federation is proud to have played a small part in helping make this project possible, and we look forward to seeing it inspire Canadians for years to come. As we celebrate 150 years of the Supreme Court of Canada, we honour not only its past, but its promise for the future. On behalf of the Federation and all law societies, I wish the court a successful start to the new session, and we affirm our unwavering support for the court's work today and for future generations to come. We stand with you firmly, faithfully, and fearlessly. Thank you.
Ms. Donnelly, for your words.
Merci beaucoup.
Our final guest speaker, the President of the Advocate Society, Ms. Hilary Book.
Monsieur le juge en chef,
Chief Justice, Mr. Minister, Justices, distinguished guests. It's an honor to be here today to represent the Advocate Society. I will speak to the joys of being an advocate within our justice system.
And problems and ask us to help them find a solution. We translate those stories and problems into evidence and legal issues. We take them through a process that is often still too long and too expensive, and that sometimes winds up in a trial. If things go well, then joy of joys, we win. If they don't, sorrow of sorrows, we lose. But even when we lose, all hope is not lost, because there's still an appeal. And then we go through another process, and if things go well, joy of joys, we win. If they don't, sorrow of sorrows, we lose. This time, if we lose, there is still some hope that we may, in certain circumstances, succeed in getting leave to appeal to the Supreme Court of Canada. I suspect that most advocates feel joy when their case gets leave to appeal to this court, even if they represent the responding party. Après tout, la Cour suprême établit
After all, the Supreme Court sets the standard for all courts.
qui concerne le droit, mais aussi en ce qui a trait à l'indépendance et l'intégrité.
Not only in terms of substantive law, but also in terms of judicial independence and integrity. This brings me to the most powerful and meaningful thrill of being an advocate in Canada. Of course, winning or losing matters, but the real and lasting joy of being a lawyer is that we have the privilege of being part of a system where judges are impartial and independent, where the rule of law prevails, and where parties, including governments, which is crucial, obey judgments, even when they do that reluctantly. Even when our clients lose, we can reassure them and tell them that they have received a fair hearing.
Throughout history and sadly today, all too easily lost. The Advocate Society shares the commitment of those in attendance today to doing our best to ensure that in another 150 years, future generations will be able to celebrate the continued strength of these foundations of our justice system and experience the true joy of being an advocate. Merci.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Book. Mes collègues,
My colleagues and I would like to express our deep appreciation to our speakers and our invited guests in the room. We commend each and every one of you for your work, to advance the administration of justice in Canada. To those watching online, thank you for sharing in this common cause. I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge the employees of the Supreme Court. They help my colleagues and I to better serve Canadians. Our employees consistently go above and beyond. We are tremendously grateful for their professionalism, their passion, and their steadfast commitment.
Followed by our guest speakers and our registrar, to sign a commemorative book. I would ask everyone to remain seated during this time. Afterwards, we invite you to join us in the grand entrance hall, where the book will be relocated. Before leaving the court, please take a moment to sign the book to record your presence here today. Employees will be invited to sign this book later on this afternoon. This concludes today's ceremony. Thank you again for everyone for joining us. Je vous remercie toutes et tous de votre présence.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
ceci met fin à la cérémonie officielle. We will all join you at the entrance hall, and the court is adjourned. Thank you very much.